Tried it with an electric toothbrush, but it stunk of cheese. Hello, welcome back to Street Switch Photography. Sorry about that intro, you probably caught me out a bit there. I've been doing these intros for some while, and as promised, I've come back to come and do this, the GB News. This is the verdict on the Epping Bell Hotel migrant court case that was found to have been illegal because they didn't have planning permission to actually put migrants in the hotel. Now, at the moment, they've got the news on, and they're doing the weather, I believe. I'm going to play the video.
Him having lunch, and
I'm going to fast forward it.
Some showers continuing across
so here's your weather for today.
In particular. Other places, more central eastern areas, turning largely dry, some clear skies, but towns and cities not seeing temperatures dropping too low. Most places holding up in double figures. So a fine start to the day tomorrow, not an especially fresh one either. But not everywhere is going to get off to a fine start. Still some showers across western parts of Scotland continuing through the night and
raining
into the morning.
Scotland.
Further east, a drier, brighter picture here. Across much of Northern Ireland starting to turn cloudier before that rain pushes its way in later on, and then across much of England and Wales, yes, a few showers for western areas, central and eastern parts getting the day off to a bright, often sunny start. Then as we go through the day, the big talking point is a band of rain that's sweeping its way in from the west. It's going to gradually make its way in, and the rain is going to be pretty heavy on it. And with the heavy rain, watch out as there could be some strong winds. We're talking coastal gales.
So I'm just going to mute this a second so I can do some waffling. Basically what's happening is there's a verdict because the government have basically counterclaimed this this ruling, and they're trying to keep these migrants in the hotel. Now, either way, Keir Starmer's in trouble here, because if they're allowed to stay in that hotel, there's going to be protests. If they get moved out of the hotel, where's he going to put them? And what I'll do is, once we've had the verdict on what exactly happens, 1 second, we will have a quick chat about it. It won't be a mega long video, I hope, and we'll go from there. So let's turn the sound back on and hear
the final week to
few
see
adverts
how you can
and we'll
win
be
your
there.
mortgage or rent
I did
paid
promise
for a whole
I'd
year.
do it. I hope the
That's
sound
a
is
cash
okay,
lump
because
sum
this is obviously a
equivalent
new
to 12
microphone
of your
and
monthly
setup.
mortgage or
We're here
rent
at Compost
payments,
Corner.
right up to a whopping £20,000. Plus, we'll add an extra £5,000 on top for good measure. Make sure you don't miss out, as lines close on the 29th of August. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5
Long
plus one
advert,
standard
must
network
get
rate
some money
message.
for
Go
this.
to gbnews.com/win.
Dear me.
863232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15,
Bear with.
PO Box 8690, Derby, DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Thank you for tuning in.
At GB News, we love to hear from you.
Oh, not another
our loyal
bloody ad.
community.
Oh, for...
So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There
Right,
you can talk to
let's
each
see
other
what they say.
and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news
Your
channel.
channel.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with
Another advert. Well, this has been Street Switch Photography, showing you adverts.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you
I'll
on
get on
any
with it.
device,
We're bored now.
and as long as you or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity
This is
to cut
fucking
through all
ridiculous.
the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is...
you're
the failure is...
deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait
If
for
you
more.
want to go away and come
not
back, you're
shy
quite
away
welcome
from
to,
the
because I don't know
difficult
how
stuff.
long
Sometimes I
this is
wanna
going to
shape
be.
people and say, if only you
What
understood.
I will do is I'm
So
going to
join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights.
mute the video for a few minutes and basically say exactly what it is that's going on, so people that have just tuned in sort of know what it is that's going on. 1 second.
As it happens.
Yeah, that's another advert. You got about 20 minutes worth of fucking adverts with GB News. Anyway, what's happening is the Epping Hotel is basically getting its verdict this afternoon because the government counterclaimed a recent court order that basically said it was illegal to keep migrants in that hotel because they didn't have planning permission to actually do so. So now Keir Starmer is in a little bit of a sticky situation. If he manages to keep them there, there's going to be trouble. If he don't manage to keep them there, where's he going to put them?
Walker.
And I'm Dawn Neeson.
And a judgment on whether to overturn the injunction blocking the use of a hotel for asylum seekers is expected very, very shortly.
The Home Office has told judges that asylum seekers' rights must come before local concerns as it fights to keep migrants housed in the Bell Hotel.
Did you hear that? She basically put migrants before British people. That is wrong. She needs to resign. That is disgusting. That should not be happening. British people come first. That is where the problem lies, is with this government. They need getting rid of.
In Epping. But Epping Council claim the hotel breaks planning laws and has fuelled unrest.
Well, let's bring in our Home and Security Editor, Mark White, who joins us live from outside the Royal Courts of Justice.
To make it clear, there's not unrest because they've broke planning rules. There's unrest because a migrant has allegedly assaulted a young 14-year-old schoolgirl from that hotel.
Mark, we are just moments away, aren't we, from this judgment? What more can you tell us?
Well, told that the court is now filling up ahead of that judgment.
And I'd just like to point out, you need to go and find out who the judges are and everything else in this court. They've been put in by certain individuals and they lean very far to the left. And look at where they used to actually work before they became a judge.
Handed down
we know what the
by
verdict's going to be, I think.
Senior judges
they're going to be staying there, I reckon.
Yesterday heard a number of arguments, of course, on behalf of the appellants, the Home Office and Samani Hotels, the owners of the Bell Hotel, appealing against that decision, that temporary injunction that was granted, that interim injunction handed down by the High Court at the beginning of last week. A decision that was a bit of a shock, but was clearly a decision that was welcomed by many people within Epping who have been campaigning for years to have the Bell Hotel.
Now, if you haven't been watching what's been going on at the Epping Bell Hotel, my brother a few weeks back did an audit up there. The security guards soon came out and they were on him like a tramp on chips. That video has since been taken down. It had a few flags on it and stuff like that. But then, all of a sudden, this young girl was apparently, I'm saying apparently because there's no charge yet and it's innocent until proven guilty. This guy assaulted a young 14-year-old child, apparently. I don't think there's only been charges brought yet, but I believe he's still on remand. I believe he was Ethiopian, but he was in this hotel. And the local community have come together and they've actually said, we do not want these migrants in this hotel anymore, get them out. And the local council of Epping took them to court and found that they hadn't got planning permission to actually have these migrants in this hotel. So this is the government trying to counterclaim that and give good reason to keep them in the hotel, basically saying that migrants comes before your children's safety. Get that right. They're saying that migrants come before your child's safety. This is Labour.
Closed down in terms of its use as a migrant hotel. Remember, this is a hotel that has been used on and off since 2020 to house asylum seekers, migrants in that particular hotel, despite the concerns that local people in the community have had about this, and of course despite the concerns that Epping Forest District Council have had. They have been concerned about the fact that this hotel had changed use from a hotel, an amenity that was open to everyone in that local community.
Now, just to make it clear, this is quite a big moment to find out what is going to happen. So let's get on with it.
To effectively now an asylum hostel. And to that end, the planning enforcement officer for Epping Forest District Council had spoken to Samani Hotels, the Bell Hotel owners, on a number of occasions in 2020. In 2022, it was told that because of the fact that the number of asylum seekers being housed there had taken it beyond what was everyday use as a hotel into an asylum hostel. That constituted a change of use, and
that'd be a more appropriate word, would be an asylum hostel.
As such, there should be an application to change the use of that hotel. Well, that application was actually submitted, we're told, in 2022, but then later withdrawn in March of 24, when there had not been a conclusion to that particular planning application. And at that point in March of 2024, it was another period where asylum seekers had been housed there, but we're no longer going to...
Now, there's one of two ways, as I said before, that this can go. If Epping Council are successful and they manage to keep this verdict that they're not allowed in this hotel, I think it's by the 11th of September they have to be out of that hotel by. And Starmer will have to find them somewhere else to go. Now, we have had a lot of new houses built around this country. Lots of new houses. Every town has noticed it. Every town is feeling it because they're not putting infrastructure in place to support it, which is downright dumb, in my opinion. And they will put them in these houses. That's what I believe. I'm going to stick by my word. I have been wrong on a couple of occasions, but I believe I'm very right on this. Or they'll let them stay in the hotel, and I think there will be protests right across the country. Not that there already isn't, but there will be protests. And I believe that the government are basically playing a very dangerous game here.
To be housed there, so apparently Somali groups withdrew their application, but there had been no renewed application, as far as we know, from 2025, when the hotel itself was being used again to house asylum seekers, and that, of course, is what Epping Forest District Council took to the High Court here, claiming that there had been a breach of planning laws, that Somali Hotels was in breach, and that there should be an injunction. That was handed down, as I say, last week, and
this
now
is just
is
footage
being
of some of the
appealed
protests
by the Home Office and by Somali Hotels themselves. It will be far-reaching, the decision that is handed down by these appeal court judges, because if it goes in favour of the Home Office and Somali Hotels, and those asylum seekers are allowed to stay in the Bell Hotel, then clearly there will be a great deal of anger and upset within the local community.
Which is what I just said. There will be a massive amount of pushback from the public.
In Epping, having fought this for years, and finally believing that they had really got somewhere with these asylum seekers having to be removed from that hotel under the current injunction by the 12th of September, to going back to...
This is edgy of seat stuff, guys, this is, isn't it?
Square one, effectively. And then you've got the issue, of course, of asylum-seeking hotels right around the country.
Now, this is what I meant by a snowball effect. Basically, if they are successful and the council, Epping Council, actually manage to keep this verdict, they've got to be out by the 11th of September. This will snowball. And every council that's of a particular, like, local authority will put in these court claims to get rid of these migrants out the hotel, because people in their local constituents do not want basically unchecked male men round their kids. And if you don't understand that, there's something wrong with you and you need your fucking phone checking.
Where many people had believed that this may be a way forward, a way of fighting this imposition that we have had from the Home Office. Because remember, the communities have no say about an asylum-seeking hotel. That hotel is taken out.
Now, that's the point with local councillors. They should be supporting their local constituents and putting their voices forward to what it is their constituents actually want. That's the idea of it.
Of commissions,
that's why they're voted in.
Requisitioned by the Home Office without any kind of feedback from the community, any say of the community as to what the hotel should be used for. We can now, I think, hear that judgment.
Okay, Mark White, our Home and Security Editor, thank you very much. We can now take you live inside to the Royal...
So here we go, guys. Get ready for this. This is what basically I said I would come back and do. Here's the live judgment from Epping Hotel. The judgment on whether it will still be used for migrants to be housed, illegal migrants, mostly men, between the ages of 18 and 35, at which there has been a sexual assault, an alleged sexual assault, multiple protests, and this is basically for the Epping people. Either way, whichever way this goes, Keir Starmer is in serious fucking trouble. Let's listen.
Court of Justice.
This is a summary of the judgment of the court, a decision which runs to over...
Look this guy up at who he is. This will be totalitarian, if I'm not mistaken.
20 paragraphs. In accordance with the court's usual practice, the full text will be supplied to the parties' legal teams today for checking for any typographical errors or factual errors such as, for example, a wrong date or reference. The judgment is not supplied at this stage for further argument. As soon as the parties have had the opportunity to carry out these checks, the full text will be uploaded to the National Archive and will be published on the judicial website. This summary will be published on the judiciary website as soon as practicable after this hearing. These are two linked applications for permission to appeal before the court. The applications were listed for oral hearing yesterday on the 28th of August 2025, with the appeals to follow. The first of the applications is brought by the Secretary of State for the Home Department, Home Secretary, and the second by Somani Hotels Limited.
The clue's in the name, Home Secretary. She should be looking after her home people first, not saying that migrants are more important than the native people of Great Britain.
Somani. The respondent to both appeals is Epping Forest District Council, the council. The appeals themselves both concern the grant to the council of a temporary, i.e. time-limited, injunction by Mr. Justice Eyre, the judge, on 19th August 2025. That injunction was granted pursuant to Section 187B of the Town and Country Planning Act 1990, the 1990 Act, to restrain Somani from using the Bell Hotel at High Road, Bell Common, Epping, Essex, the hotel, as accommodation for...
Now, I'm just wondering if this is going to go in the direction, basically, of the upper class, basically not wanting these people in their back garden. Well, this is an upper class area, so it'll be very interesting to see what happens here.
Asylum seekers. The council argues, in this case, that Somani's actions are in breach of planning law. Section 187B of the 1990 Act
this guy's a lefty.
Provides that, quote, where a local planning authority consider it necessary or expedient for any actual or apprehended breach of planning control to be restrained by injunction, they may apply to the court for an injunction. Section 187B(2) provides the court with a wide discretion in relation to the grant of an injunction, i.e. as the court thinks appropriate for the purpose of restraining the breach. The temporary injunction granted in this case was to last for only a relatively brief period until the trial of the council's claim, at which a High Court judge will consider and determine the council's application for a permanent injunction and declaration. This is listed for a trial date in mid-October 2025. That is approximately 7 weeks from now.
Need to drink water.
We should say at the outset what this appeal hearing is not about. It is not concerned with the merits of government policy in relation to the provision of accommodation for asylum seekers in hotels or otherwise. The issues for determination by this court can be summarised as follows. A. Prior to giving his judgment on the council's application for the temporary injunction, the judge gave a short oral ruling explaining why he was refusing permission to the Home Secretary to become a party, an intervener, to the council's injunction application. We consider in this appeal whether...
So the government tried to intervene with the council making this claim in the first place, so that's interesting.
The judge was wrong to do so.
I don't believe the judge was wrong to do so at all. The judge
went on, the judge went on to grant the temporary injunction to restrain the continued provision of accommodation to asylum seekers at the hotel pending the trial. In this respect, too, we consider whether he was wrong to do so. Background facts. The hotel is situated on the outskirts of the centre of Epping. It is currently owned and run by Somani. The council is the local planning authority for the district of Epping. The hotel currently accommodates approximately 138 asylum seekers. The provision of this accommodation is under contract between Somani and Corporate Travel Management North Limited, CTM, a service provider contracted by the Home Office to provide accommodation to asylum seekers. This is the third period in the hotel's recent history in which it has been used for the provision of accommodation for asylum seekers. Previously, it was used in this respect, A, between 22nd May 2020 and 4th March 2021, and B, between October 2022 and April 2024. At no time during these earlier periods, between 20 and 2024, did the Council take steps to restrain Somani from providing accommodation at the hotel for asylum seekers.
Because it wasn't getting the media coverage that it's getting now. Now, it's getting a lot of media coverage because of the amount of protests that have been outside the hotel, and basically people pissed off with migrants touching their children.
Within the second period referred to above, specifically in February 2023.
And I'd just like to say, when I said that, I don't mean all migrants.
Somani applied to the Council for planning permission for a temporary change of use, i.e. to accommodate asylum seekers rather than operating the hotel for paying members of the public. Somani did so without prejudice to its legal position that the hotel could lawfully, temporarily accommodate asylum seekers under contract with the Home Office. For over a year, the Council did not deal with Somani's application, notwithstanding the statutory duty to deal with such an application within 8 weeks. As the contract between Somani and the Home Office came to an end in or about April 2024, Somani withdrew its application for temporary change of use. For about 1 year, the hotel was closed. In March 2025, Somani entered into a contract with CTM to provide exclusive use of the hotel for 1 year for the purpose of short-term accommodation for asylum seekers. The Council was aware of this plan and confirmed its agreement to a maximum of 138 residents for the hotel. In April 2025, the hotel reopened, providing accommodation for up to 138 single adult male asylum seekers. The Council informed Somani that it would...
Single adult male asylum seekers that are more important to the Home Secretary the Home Secretary than their own people, than the great British people, than the soldiers that have fought in wars, than your children's safety.
Need to seek permission for a change of use of the hotel. On 15th May 2025, Somani, having taken advice from the Home Office, informed the Council in writing that it would not be submitting a temporary application for a change of use. The Council did not reply. On 11th August, without any prior pre-action notice, either formal or informal, to Somani or the Home Office, the Council issued injunction proceedings against Somani under Section 187B of the 1990 Act to restrain the use of the hotel as a matter of planning control for accommodating asylum seekers. The Council also sought a temporary interim injunction pending trial. It sought a declaration that the current use of the hotel does not amount to use as a hotel, which is the permitted use of the premises for the purpose.
It's basically being used as a homeless hostel.
Of planning control. The documents were formally served on Somani on 12th August. Since April 2025, 3 arrests have been made by the police in respect of individuals accommodated at the hotel, and criminal charges have been brought against the individuals.
3. Now I thought it was just the 1. So there's 3 arrests being made. Let's find out what.
One incident is reported to have occurred on 8th July and involved alleged sexual assaults, incitement of a girl to engage in sexual activity, and harassment without violence. This has unsurprisingly attracted considerable interest in local and national media. Since July 2025, there have been largely continuous protests outside the hotel. The focus of the protests is that the hotel should no longer be used to house asylum seekers.
Correct. Send them home. Deport them. Stop the benefits. Put them on a plane and get rid of them.
Some of the protests have involved violent and disorderly incidents.
Because the police shipped in Antifa and other far-left government organisations to actually cause problems for the people that were from that area that were having a peaceful protest at the time. Proven, look it up on YouTube. 100% proven. They actually brought them in buses. The footage is on YouTube.
As of 3rd August, the police reported that 25 people had been arrested in connection with offences at these protests, and 16 people had been charged with criminal offences.
Now let's have the statistics. Were they from the far left or what they like to call the far right? These are local people that are going to these protests. There's some auditors there and some non-mainstream media. We all know how this works. Basically, they have the mainstream media there. They bring in Antifa, they bring in Stop Racism, and then they'll basically stand there and antagonise the other side, make them angry, and then all of a sudden, the mainstream media will shoot one side, and that will be what they like to call the far right, and then they can use that as their narrative to push their narrative on mainstream media. That's the truth. Make sure you do your research, guys, before you start sort of saying, well, this, that, and the other.
The application for an injunction under Section 187B of the Town and Country Planning Act 1990. The hearing of the Council's application for a temporary injunction was listed before the judge on Friday, 15th August 2025. By this time, the Home Office had received informal notice of the application, but was neither present nor represented at the hearing. The judge reserved his judgment in relation to the application for the temporary injunction until 2 p.m. on Tuesday, 19th August. On Monday, 18th August, the Government Legal Department issued an application for the Home Secretary to be joined as a party to the litigation.
Again, this is the Home Secretary that made a statement saying that migrants are more important than British people. Migrants are more important than British people. These people that are in these hotels that are sexually abusing children are more important than British people. Paedophile protecting Marxists is what they are.
This application was considered by the judge on 19th August, prior to the delivery of his reserved judgment. The application was supported by Somani but opposed by the Council. In a short oral judgment, the judge gave his reasons for refusing the Home Secretary's application.
I think they all have a bit of oral, don't they?
For party status. In short, he concluded that it was not, quote, desirable, unquote, a term used in the civil procedure rules, for the Home Secretary to be a party to the litigation.
In other words, keep your fucking nose out.
The judge then went on to hand down his reserved judgment. In that judgment, he gave his reasons for granting the Council the temporary injunction. Under the terms of the injunction, Somani was restrained from using the hotel for accommodating asylum seekers, howsoever described, or for using the hotel otherwise than as a hotel. The upshot of the injunction is that all 138 asylum seekers currently resident at the hotel will need to be relocated by 12th September, pending the final
12th September, sorry I said the 11th, my bad.
Hearing in October. The Home Secretary and Somani promptly issued applications for permission to appeal to this court. They were listed before us for hearing yesterday. Given the importance and urgency of the matter, we are giving judgment today. The Court of Appeal's decision on the Home Secretary's appeal relating to joinder as an intervener to the Council's application. The Court of Appeal grants the Home Secretary's application for permission to appeal against the decision dismissing her application for party status, and further grants the Home Secretary intervenor status in the litigation between the Council and Somani. The Home Secretary has clear statutory duties towards asylum seekers.
No, she doesn't. She has clear statutory duties towards the British people first. Incorrect. This makes me fucking angry, this does.
In this country, under the Immigration and Asylum Act 1999.
Leave the ECHR then. Fuck 'em.
9. These include the duty to provide support to them and their dependents, and to prevent
They had that in France. They had a safe. They've come through about 18 different countries, safe different countries.
Destitution.
They're men, all men.
Cohort. Given these duties, in addition to her constitutional role relating to public safety, the Home Secretary is plainly directly affected by the issues in this case, and specifically by the grant or not of an injunction to restrain the provision of accommodation for the asylum seekers at the hotel. On an application for party status, the court will consider whether, quote, it is desirable to add the new party so that the court can resolve all the matters in dispute in the proceedings.
Now, if the court here actually rules in favour of Yvette Cooper, the Home Secretary that puts migrants before our own people, this is going to kick off. There's going to be a lot of people in Epping watching this afternoon. I hope it goes your way, guys. I really do.
Unquote. Civil Procedure Rule 19.22. The judge failed to give this rule the wide interpretation it required which led to his erroneous finding that the Home Secretary's application should be refused. He failed to have any adequate regard to the range of issues which would be likely to arise if the injunction were granted. These included, but were not limited to, the significant practical challenge of relocating a large number of asylum seekers.
They managed it at Canary Wharf, didn't they, when they were shipping them in at 12 o'clock at night and everybody were fucking recording it?
In a short space of time, and possibly only for a matter of a few weeks between 12th September and mid-October, when the trial is to take place. If the council's application were to fail at trial, the hotel would be permitted to continue to operate as it is at present. The judge denied himself the opportunity to consider the wider range of public interest factors which would be relevant to this act.
Public, not illegal migrants, public interest. The public generally means people that are here legally. Am I wrong or am I right?
Application. These, in our view, rendered it more than just merely desirable that the Home Secretary be enabled to participate in the court process.
Quick reminder again, 138 men between the ages of 18 and 40 are at this hotel. There's been 3 cases of sexual assault, all alleged to have happened at this hotel, around this hotel, with men from this hotel. If they don't shut this fucking hotel, I dread to think what's going to happen.
The judge needed to put himself in
this is all on him.
A position to determine the application.
And Yvette Cooper and the government, Labour.
Informed perspective. The Home Office was in a strong position to provide evidence relevant to the disputes and issues before the court at this interim stage and at the final hearing. We were unpersuaded that it would be sufficient for the Home Office to provide evidence for Somani to file. The provision of key evidence by someone outside the litigation to someone within the litigation hardly meets the expectation of a right to be heard. Moreover, the judge appeared to apply a test of necessity to the question of joinder, which placed the bar...
Please let common sense fucking prevail here.
...for joinder too high. While the judge was entitled to be concerned that the Home Office had applied very late for the Home Secretary to be made a party to the litigation, that did not, in our view, justify excluding her from the proceedings. We turn now to the substantive issue of whether an interim injunction should have been granted. This court takes as its starting point that an interlocutory injunction is a discretionary remedy. It is not open to this court to set aside the exercise of the judge's discretion simply because the 3 of us would have
cover your own arse.
Exercised it differently. It is our role to review that decision and only interfere with it if we identify a flaw or flaws in the judge's treatment of the question to be decided, such as an error of law, a gap in logic.
An error of law would be putting 138 asylum seekers, illegal asylum seekers that have committed, 3 of them committed, or allegedly committed, sexual offences on young children around the Epping area and keeping the hotel open when there was a planning permission problem.
Or a failure to take account of some material factor which undermines the cogency of the conclusion. We conclude that the judge made a number of errors of principle which undermine his decision. The wider picture. The provision of accommodation for asylum seekers pursuant to the Home Secretary's statutory duty is a national issue.
Her statutory duty is to the people of Great Britain. Her statutory duty is here with us. This is fucking mind-blowing.
Requiring a structured response. Ad hoc interim injunction applications seeking closure of particular sites may each have some individual merit, but the judge's approach ignores the obvious consequence that closure of one site means that capacity needs to be identified elsewhere.
They're not taking into consideration the safety of the local children of that area, and that actually enrages me. The Home Secretary saying that migrants are more important than basically your children.
Elsewhere in the system, and may incentivise local planning authorities who wish to remove asylum accommodation from their area to apply to the court urgently before capacity elsewhere in the system becomes exhausted. The potential cumulative impact of such ad hoc applications was a material consideration within the balance of convenience that was not considered by the judge, perhaps because he did not have the advantage in reaching his...
Perhaps. I thought we dealt with fucking facts, not perhaps.
...decision of evidence and submissions from the Home Office. The arguments on behalf of the Home Secretary in this...
Shut up.
Sorry, the written arguments on behalf of the Home Secretary in this appeal included the contention that, quote, the relevant public interests in play are not equal, unquote, and that one aspect of this is that the Home Secretary's statutory duty is a manifestation of the UK...
of the British people, that she should be protecting against these paedophiles. Yes, that's right, you've got it correct there, mate. Let's see what you're going to say.
...his obligations under Article 3 of the European Convention on Human Rights. This point was not pursued in oral argument. Any argument in this particular context about a hierarchy of rights is, in our view, unattractive. The incentivisation of protests. We were told by counsel for Epping that the protests operated as a trigger for the application for the injunction.
Bullshit! It was not that they did... Oh. The protests were triggered by 3 young children being sexually abused, allegedly, I'm angry, allegedly sexually abused by 3 immigrants from that hotel. That's bullshit.
The fact of protests outside a building is not obviously a matter falling within planning control. While we accept that the judge was right to exercise considerable caution before attaching weight to the fact of the protests, including unlawful protests.
Now, if you notice at the beginning of this video, I said check who these guys are, check out these guys, who they are, who this judge is, check out who they are and where they worked beforehand. You'll find it very, very interesting.
Outside the hotel.
And this tells me 100% that this government is fucking corrupt. It's as straight as a roundabout.
He nonetheless gave weight in his evaluation to the fact that protests were occurring and weighed them in the balance as a factor in favour of granting the injunction. These are worrying aspects of the judgment. If an outbreak of protest...
Worrying? I'll tell you what's worrying. Some 14-year-old child being sexually abused by a migrant from that hotel. That's what's worrying the families of Epping.
Enhances the case.
Are these people, are they just robots of the system? What the actual fuck? Are they literally programmed to say this, like all the lefties are programmed?
For a planning injunction. This runs the risk of acting as an impetus or incentive for further protests, some of which may be disorderly, around asylum accommodation. At its worst, if even unlawful protests are to be treated as relevant, there is a risk of encouraging further lawlessness. The judge does not appear to have considered this risk, again perhaps because...
No, because he considered the risk to the children, mate, that's why.
Because he had denied himself the advantage of hearing submissions on the merits.
And is he just about to deny all those families that live in Epping the safety of their children? Let's see.
From counsel for the Home Secretary. Further, and in any event, in this regard, the judge failed to consider whether there would have been alternative measures to mitigate together with a detailed skeleton argument prepared to the balance of convenience in force, subject to any amendment necessitated by the joinder of the Home Secretary as an intervener. We direct that submissions on costs are to be exchanged and filed by 12 noon on Monday, 1st September, along with we allow the appeals and we set aside the agree that it is relevant typographical or factual
of justice. Mark, what does this mean for the asylum seekers in that hotel and the people of Epping?
Well, it means for now those asylum seekers are not going anywhere. They are staying put in the Bell Hotel. This will be a bitter blow for, of course, Epping Forest District Council, who...
So there you go. Now, what I want you to do is go over onto Google and Google that judge's name and Google where he used to work and who he used to work for and look at some of the other decisions he's made in courts. This guy is not fit to be a fucking judge. The government have now just created a very big problem for themselves because the Epping Hotel is now going to be getting even bigger protests, and I would say probably as soon as tonight. And it's extremely worrying that this has actually gone ahead and they've actually made that decision. If they'd have made the decision that they're not allowed to be there, this would have snowballed and caused a problem for the government. It would have caused a problem for the government, but not as big as the problem they've just caused themselves by the judge not letting this go. So it would seem to me like the Epping Hotel is going to be a very controversial subject over the next few weeks, or the next couple of months at least. It's going to be receiving a lot of publicity. We will be keeping an eye on it. We will be keeping an eye on it, and we will be reporting on it, because I believe they shouldn't be in that hotel. They shouldn't even be in this fucking country, let alone in that hotel. They're not just illegally in that hotel, they're illegally in this country. And all I can say is, about that judge, fucking shame on you. Absolute, complete and utter shame on you. You disgusting person. You absolute, disgusting, horrible person. Anyway, I'm a little bit shocked at that result. I don't know about everybody else. It's one of them that you can't really get your head round as to why somebody would make this decision to leave what may be dangerous men in a hotel in Epping, where there's children, worried families. They tried to blame it on the far right, basically saying that, you know, some of these extreme violent outbursts from people. If somebody had attacked, let's ask yourself this question, if somebody had attacked your child, your little girl, your little boy, whoever, one of your family, your brother, your sister, would you be angry? Would you be angry? I think you would. And I think you'd stand there with your flag, doing a peaceful protest, minimum. Let alone when the government bring in Antifa and the government bring Just Stop Racism to actually stand there and antagonise you, to make it look like you're the bad one for wanting to protect your family. And that's how it works. That is exactly how this government works, and there was the evidence everybody was looking for. That's what we're up against. And that's why we're running this Raise the Flag campaigns, to show the government the middle finger, to tell them to fuck off. We are not going to stand for it anymore. This has been Street Switch Photography. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Go and hit the notification bell.